We already know that it's often very difficult to convict rapists due to all sorts of reasons. Victims can be reluctant to report the crime, and they can be even more wary of taking the stand and facing their attacker. Plus, it's often tough to prove what happened when there are often no witnesses. Also, issues and backlogs on rape kits can actually make a prosecution's job even tougher. But Governor Cuomo, he'd like to do something about that in New York. He's proposing legislation that would force hospitals to preserve the evidence collection kits for at least 5 years or until the victim turns 19. Right now, they're only being kept for 30 days. And for more on that, we're joined by Elizabeth Cronin. She is director of the New York State Office of Victim Services. And first, let's clear up some of the confusions, because I think there is some. First of all, a rape kit, as explained to me, and we talked to some of the people in the forefront of this issue, an extremely invasive thing to a traumatized patient. Yes. Already. It takes an unbelievable amount of courage to undergo this indignity after what has already happened to a person. So first, they go through that. I assumed the problem was always that it might be sitting on some shelf at some precinct in a basement gathering dust because they never find the guy or whatever else, and then it wasn't processed or whatever else. I didn't realize 30 days. Explain some of the math here about the reality after the kit is done. What happens then?
Yeah, that's been a real misconception, because I think so much focus has been on kits where the victim has consented to have them tested, and then they've been sitting in a warehouse or in a police department. This is an issue that we have been looking at, because 30 days is a very short amount of time, and New York has one of the shortest
again,
retention.
30 days, to be clear, 30 days from the victim agreeing to have the kit processed, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So what happens is, when a victim goes to a medical provider and has the rape kit or sexual assault kit done, then the victim can make a choice as to whether or not they want that kit to be tested or not. And so if they either elect not to have it tested, or they don't know whether they want to have it tested, then the hospital only has to retain the kit for up to 30 days. And that was actually a more extensive period of time, because originally it was only 96 hours up until, I think, 1992.
So again, to clear up that misconception, I think a lot of people, myself included, if they go to all the angst to actually go in to have the rape kit done, we're not talking about a handful of people. A lot of victims don't walk out of the hospital saying, yes, go ahead and process it. They want to take the time to decide if they want to take that next step. That happens more frequently than we imagine.
Correct. And I think if you think about, when you were talking earlier about the trauma of sexual assault, in order to get forensic evidence, we encourage victims to go to get tested as soon as possible. So what we've been encouraging victims to do is, don't wait until it's too late. Make sure you get to a hospital or a medical provider, not only for forensic evidence collection, but also to make sure that you're healthy. Let a physician or a sane nurse take care of you. But you're at a period of time where you don't know what you want to do. And so by having such a short retention period, we're not giving victims a sufficient amount of time to make a reasonable decision and a reasoned decision about what they want to do. And so Governor Cuomo has rightly said this is a far too short period of time. New York has a very short retention period of time. And so it recognizes the dynamics of trauma. And the other thing it recognizes is that there's no consistency among the hospitals. So even though there's a 30-day retention period, some hospitals would get rid of it after 30 days. Some hospitals would be 6 months. And so it all depended on where you ended up.
So it's going to make it uniform, and they're going to have to hold it for 5 years, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm curious, if we didn't see the Me Too movement dominate the news here for really the better part of the past year, would this have been possible? Would this have been on the radar? Is this a product of where we are right now?
Yes and no. This has been something that's been in the works for a while, and as you probably know, because I know you focus on these issues a lot, the governor has developed this women's agenda that is dealing with all aspects of women's rights, women's empowerment, and this is one of those facets. Now, his push on women's equality has been going on for quite a long time, but he's met some resistance. And so this is part of that platform, but it's also something that we have been working on for a while.
Elizabeth, I can't think, unless you tell me you're wrong, anybody's going to oppose this, right? I mean, who'd oppose holding on to evidence of to possibly bring a rapist to justice?
Correct. I think there were concerns about storage capability, expense of keeping them, because as you mentioned, a lot of these kits do not get tested. A lot of victims want to make sure that the evidence is preserved. They want to make sure that they're healthy, they get whatever treatment that they need, but in the end, they may, for whatever reason, not go forward. Sexual assault is a different crime than most other crimes, and so as a former prosecutor, I know how difficult it is for victims, both children and adults, who are sexual assault survivors to have to testify. So it's very, very different dynamic for them, and so they may choose, for a variety of reasons, not to go forward, but you want to have a long enough period of time available within which you can get, the victim can get counseling, and that they are able to make a rational decision about whether or not they have the wherewithal and the stamina to go forward with a prosecution.
So bring it full circle. I remember, 10 years ago or so, I was floored that a lot of these rape kits, after consent from the victim to have them processed, were never processed. And the rapist reoffended that could have been caught. Forget about all those subsequent victims that could have been spared, but also justice for the original victim that came forward. Are we at a much better place, a better place? Give me an idea overall, where are we in terms of this? I know a lot of attention has been brought to this issue, rightfully so. Has it paid off?
Yes, I think it is beginning to pay off. And, I was thinking when the doctor of the gymnastics team got sentenced the other day, and I thought if they had believed that first victim in the 90s, we would have spared a lot of young girls the agony of being abuse survivors, and we would have potentially stopped a monster. So we have come a long way toward dealing with that situation, but we're not there yet. I think the speaking out is so important. I think we can't just rely on women being the ones to carry this, that there have to be men willing to partner with women to say, me too, or I stand with you, and that, I'm not going to not say anything when I see it. And, we're heading in that direction, but there is still a lot of reports of famous people and prominent people that aren't being addressed. And, until we get to that point, we still have a fight on our hands.
Well, at least we're having the conversation, and a long overdue one at that. Elizabeth Cronin, good luck with this.
Thank you.
I think it seems like it's got to happen here, and it's overdue, but I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
All right, coming up next, everyone, we're going to have an update on a story that's certainly gotten more than a few folks rankled. I'm talking about those cashless tolls on the Mario M. Cuomo Bridge. It's been plagued with issues, and now we're taking a close look at the company who's running the system and collecting the money. Stay with us.